Welcome to the 22nd episode of the Python tutorial series. Today will be our last episode on functions. In the previous episodes, we spoke about how functions work, the benefits of using default arguments, and how to implement lambda functions. Our topic for today is recursive functions. Simply put, these are functions that call themselves within their series of operations. If this still sounds a bit strange, don't worry. We can explain it very simply using an example. Our goal today is to write a function that calculates the factorial of a number using recursion. For those of you who have never heard of factorials before, here's a quick summary of how they work. The factorial of a number, represented by the exclamation mark, is given by the product of all the natural numbers between 1 and the number we have chosen. So, for example, the factorial of 5 would be 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which is equal to 120. Now that we know how factorials work, before we move back to our coding example, let's look at a neat property of factorials which we will then implement in our code. If we take the expression for the factorial of n and exclude n from the product, it can clearly be seen that what's left is none other than the factorial of n minus 1. So we can express the factorial of n as n times the factorial of n minus 1. Now that we have seen this neat little property, let's go back to our code. Let's now define our function as fact for factorial, and the argument will be n for number. We can then implement an if-else statement which says if n equals 1, then we can return 1 because we have reached the end of the factorial succession. Else, we can now implement the property of factorial numbers that we discovered earlier. That is to say that the result is equal to n times the factorial of n minus 1. But how do we calculate the factorial of n minus 1? Simple. We use the function that we have just written. So we can call return n times fact of n minus 1. This is what we call recursion, where a function is called inside itself. The function as a whole, therefore, is called a recursive function. Let's now finish off by testing our function. We can do this as usual by clicking the F5 key, going in the terminal on the right-hand side, and typing fact of, let's say, 5 from our example before. As you can see, our function gives the correct answer. With that, we have successfully completed our overview of functions. If you've missed any of my previous episodes, you can check them out in my tutorial series by clicking on the link which you can find in the top right-hand corner of your screen or in the video description. Please make sure to like this video, share this tutorial series with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. As always, I look forward to seeing you next week for a new episode. And in the meantime, happy coding!